Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94. You're back with another reaction video. Today, we finna react to Judgment Day 2002, the first pay-per-view of WWE, not WWF. The only reason why this is the first pay-per-view of WWE is because they got the F out. So this was the first WWE World Wrestling Entertainment pay-per-view and not the World Wrestling Federation. But hey, it is what it is. Anyways, though, without further ado, let's get right into it. I don't remember this pay-per-view at all. I don't. Maybe I know, but it is what it is. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
A day of terror, anarchy, and revenge. Judgment Day. The culmination of a feud inside the Devil's Playground, a petty feud turned personal. Judgment Day promised to offer a fiery ending to the Jericho and Triple H feud and an answer to the question of whether or not Hulk Hogan can still get it done. WWE in 2002 was in a weird position. It was so odd because the brand split had just started and we were seeing new guys coming. But it was still about the talent from the previous eras. It's fun in hindsight, but back then the wrestling industry was at its weakest in about a decade. Things weren't looking so good for the future, and that's because nobody had answers. The answers were gonna come with time, but in the moment it looked dire. With that said, Judgment Day 2002. This event was held in the Gaylord Entertainment Center in Nashville, Tennessee on May 19, 2002. The buy rate was 370,000, which was a bit lower than 2001's, but I think the Hell in a Cell softened the blow here, seeing as it was still considered a huge match and a huge draw for pay-per-view. The theme song for the event was Broken by 12 Stones, and it was the first WWE pay-per-view. Also, side note, I love this stage. I found it to be very cool and something distinctive and in line with the Judgment Day name. I think 2002 had the best stages because they were all creative, they were all unique, and they all brought a different vibe to the event. Okay, let's get into it. Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental Championship. Latino Heat had just returned to the WWF and he was looking like he was ready to take over. The thing with Eddie was that his talent was undeniable, but there was always something in the way. From here on though, there was no distraction in the way. And WWF saw how talented he was and gave him the Intercontinental Championship already within a month of his debut. RVD was RVD, one of the guys you can rely on to have a 10-minute or even a 20-minute match. These two had already shown great chemistry in their first match at Backlash, and it was one of the best matches on the show. That wasn't saying much considering Backlash was a massive disappointment. But this one was good. I enjoyed it a lot seeing as these two facing off looked far out only a month earlier. RVD was excellent here with his high-flying ability. Great moment here where he fooled Eddie and he was toying with him during this part of the match, but as always, Eddie couldn't be counted out. He has to do some of that heel stuff to come back into it. These two are jumping around and you can see that RVD found another great opponent. Eddie matched him very well here. These two were moving faster, nearly 10 minutes in the match than they were in the beginning, and Eddie stole the win from out of nowhere using the ropes. And it came as a surprise. Unfortunately, we didn't see these two reach their final gear. I know that this match would have been loved more if they had more time, as it was very fun because you didn't know what would come out of a sequence. RVD could look picture perfect, but then Eddie drops him with a strike or something before flying himself. It was a good opener, but this would have went another level if RVD and Eddie got to bring out some near falls. If only WWE gave their mid-carders more time during this era. I feel like we didn't see the very best of them. But even then, there's a reason why RVD and Eddie's mid-card runs were loved around this time period, because they made the most out of the time given. Oh yeah, 2002 WWE. Devon was putting all his heart into this story. Trish Stratus faced Stacy Keibler for the WWE Women's Championship. Stacy was with Vince a lot during this time and he was moving crazy inside and outside the ring. Now of course the story started from a swimsuit contest. It's the most 2002 women's story. The story was more about Devon and Bubba, who had just split due to the draft. Bubba was on Trish's side and this match was 3 minutes. It was one of those matches that moved very fast. And it's like, let me give you an example. It's one of those matches where if you look away for a second, you'd think they were wrestling for 7 minutes since they were going for their trademark moves. Trish in particular stood out to me here. She had a better understanding of a wrestling match. Noble, Deacon, Batista obliterated Stratus with a body slam. And again, WWE 2002 was wild. It really was the Wild West. Anything goes. Trish retained off the bump in the corner and this was as much as you were gonna get with a super green Stacy Keibler. Trish was impressive here, but the real story was between the Dudleys. This reunion didn't go well for either of them, but even worse for Bubba. Also, just want to say, Devon was so funny. They had a table moment which showed just how separated these two had become, and maybe this was when Batista started despising Bubba. Ric Flair and Vince McMahon were on the same page for the first time, seeing as the Nature Boy finally understood how much of a problem Stone Cold was. The Hardys faced Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. This was Brock's first feud in WWE, and the Hardy Boys weren't the same as they were in the past. I think a part of that is because every one of their rivals were now single stars, whereas Matt and Jeff were still on the same page and doing nothing. Brock Lesnar used these guys as video game highlight reels and he wrecked them badly in almost every one of their confrontations. You'd see Jeff's arm be rearranged backwards, and this match once again was about making Brock look good. The Hardys had their moments, but they didn't amount to much. Instead, this massive Brock Lesnar threw them around like garbage and with no human regard. I don't even think Brock fell to the mat once up until this tornado DDT. They make you believe in the Hardy Boys, but then Brock dashes those hopes in the hopes of Paul Heyman paying the price. Instead, Heyman gets the win himself. This match was there to showcase Brock Lesnar. The Hardys sold like crazy and Brock was menacing. They threw everything at him, but it wasn't even close to a victory. Booker T in the back was bragging about the NWO when he discovers the beauty of his eyes. And many others. I think if it was Zion Williamson, he would have ditched the pay-per-view entirely and ran out of there with his jersey. Stone Cold against Ric Flair and The Big Show. Stone Cold signing with Raw brought plenty of problems to the Nature Boy. It's the nature of Stone Cold, yet Ric Flair expected something else. He screwed Austin at Backlash, and then we got Big Show turning heel once again. All of a sudden, against your will, you're supposed to believe this guy's a threat again. It's The Big Show. Is he actually a threat? No. Stone Cold and Ric Flair is such an odd matchup that actually happened. I'm not talking about stunning Steve Austin. I'm talking about the beer-drinking tough SOB. And it happened when WWF became WWE too. Weird all around. Also, Big Show rejoined the NWO, which was still a thing at this point. With regards to this match, it was odd. It wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't this great match. Austin clearly knew that he would get overwhelmed with a battle here, but for the first couple of minutes, he did a lot. This would have been better off being a singles match. I wish it did end up that way because Big Show here was only used to make things a lot tougher for Stone Cold. Ric Flair logically wouldn't dominate a singles match with somebody who only a few months ago was the world champion. But there was nice stuff in here. Flair was selling funny for Stone Cold, them trading chops and the inevitable failed aerial move from Flair. Stone Cold was still massively popular at the time. He wasn't the same after 2001, and it was clear that the grind and struggle was catching up to him, because if this match happened a year earlier, you'd see him do a lot more in this match. Flair had a strong focus on locking in the figure 4 here, and it did a lot of damage to Stone Cold. He still had something in there, but then the NWO miscalculated things and he managed to score the victory. I don't think Big Show here was too strong, barring that stunner. I'd say he was used in a good way as a man that cut off all the openings Stone Cold had. So in some ways, he wasn't as strong as WWE made him out to be. Solid match. I liked it way more after actually watching it here. And if you're wondering why, well, crowd investment was the highest on the show up to this point. Flair flying around and the fact that Stone Cold didn't struggle too much with them. It makes sense. Flair is old and Big Show was a jobber for 2 years. Still though, if only it was a singles match and Flair cheated his way to an advantage with the match, I would've liked that. But with regards to Stone Cold, he wasn't moving the same. A lot of the moves he hit didn't have the same intensity and speed to them. He desperately needed to recharge. Hell, he had his reasons to retire. Edge and Kurt Angle, a very entertaining feud that tested both men's abilities. I really liked this feud because it had a very competitive nature to it, along with the silliness that professional wrestling has to offer. Edge came out of a feud over shampoo, which is ridiculous in itself, and the fact that this guy was battling Booker T over a shampoo commercial was silly. Then we have this story starting over the simplest thing. Edge indirectly telling Kurt Angle that he sucks. They had tremendous chemistry together and it comes down to both men coming out of their shells. Edge in particular was super quick and at the peak of his athleticism, whereas for Angle, his best was yet to come. They pushed each other to the limit and it feels like you're watching two of the next biggest stars in the WWE. I really recommend you watch their matches. They come with a lot of intensity and make you notice how soft the WWE's action starts to feel after 2002. I still like the matches, but when I put on a random Raw SmackDown match from that year, an elbow off the ropes looks brutal. The strikes were great and there was more natural energy in the matches. You felt like these guys were giving it their all with just a suplex or a tilted world backbreaker. Judgment Day was hair versus hair and it was clear that Angle wasn't going to keep that look for any longer. And at this point, Angle was showing a much meaner side to him, which had already been a thing for a year up to this point. But this match kind of leads to a much crazier and firm Kurt Angle. The action here was great. Kurt Angle used a lot of aggression and his incredible wrestling skill to have an advantage over Edge. Great belly to belly here. Kurt Angle's storyline was just much better than Edge here because he had the better wrestling, more intensity, and a bigger understanding of how to keep Edge at bay. The match was very fast and offered something incredible. I really like those tight sequences where it feels like things are happening on the fly. I just love them. Edge was going crazy here too, and these guys were acting like they were fighting for the world title here. Ref bump and Edge has the match. This moron was busy sleeping in 2 minutes. He slept for 2 minutes and Edge had the match on 2 occasions. These two stole each other's finishers. Well, actually, Angle stole Edge's spear. The near falls were incredible, and maybe these guys should have main evented based on match quality. Angle had the win in the bag, but Edge had too much tenacity, leading to the roll-up and the victory. Amazing match. I really love the counters and sequences here. Edge didn't get the best of Kurt Angle in the first half. In the second, he was countering almost everything, and on top of that, proving he's the better man. As a singles match, you'll be hard-pressed to find a better one from WWE in 2002. The action was fast and smooth and intense. It's hard to have everything work well in a single match, but it did here. Edge and Kurt Angle are perfect. And again, this is gonna sound a bit crazy, but I don't care. We gotta be honest. I can't name 5 singles matches, normal matches, from 2002 better than this. Maybe 3. But Edge was at his very best here. 2002, Edge really should have been more, but then he had to have that injury before WrestleMania 19. Very unfortunate. In ring, 2002 Edge is the most exciting. He had something figured out as a face, which is a factor he struggled with later on, and it was the most fire he had shown up to this point in his career. Just as he's about to give Kurt Angle a haircut, the haircut was delayed by Kurt Angle. Goldust just finds his way to haunt Booker T, and against my will, I saw Booker T's ass. Just want to tell you, if you decide to subject yourself to this event, which I thought was solid. Triple H and Chris Jericho inside Hell in a Cell. Okay. This match was very interesting because it was the culmination of the feud. The feud wasn't the best because of its foundations, but at least it was going to have a proper conclusion. Triple H also had issues with his father-in-law stemming from the wedding incident from February. The action was solid but doesn't match other Cell matches, but we're going to get into it. I guess you could say this match is overlooked, but I don't see it entirely that way because the previous Cell match was a 6-man one and it was obviously going to be a tough one to follow. WWE was also trying to get fans used to the Cell as a prison for the combatants as opposed to a structure they climb up and see somebody on the verge of death all for a single spot. It also tempered expectations because you can't expect somebody to tease meeting with God every time they enter the Hell in a Cell. That should be reserved to the actual action. Hell in a Cell is going to turn into a spot match when there's a lot of mileage to get out of it being the match where nobody could run or one way or another, the score would be settled between the wrestlers. To put it simply, you could show a talent technically die and get destroyed without falling off the cell. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. One thing to mention is that from the moment the bell rang, you can see the hatred for these two needed the Cell to end it. Great wrestling early on and some of the fastest action you'll see in a Cell up to this point. This catapult looked brutal and Y2J was damaged with the shoulder. The action was good, intense, it had a lot of heat to it. Both the guys played their roles very well. I thought to myself while watching this match, maybe it is actually overlooked. Because when I'm writing that stuff earlier, it's from before the match. Actually watching it here, maybe it is a bit overlooked. Tim White was brutalized by being thrown into the Cell, and this gave way to all hell breaking loose. Jericho here was interesting. I liked his heel work. He was slightly annoying, but still vicious as required by the Cell. It wasn't somebody who didn't feel like a threat, but at the same time, you knew how it would end. Nonetheless, Chris Jericho played his role well and actually seemed more of an equal to Triple H as opposed to their previous match at WrestleMania 18. It was beating up on the referee and lashing out on him for not counting the fall, and I understand why nobody talks about the Cell match. This comes down to the fact that even though there wasn't crazy spots, it wasn't as exciting as others. It's still pretty good. There's something to enjoy here because Triple H put out his best babyface performance by far in this run and one that was going to be hard to top. I still think there was more to bring out with regards to face Triple H in 2002, but he turned back at the right time. The action was good, it was just missing something compared to the other Cell matches. It still did its job well in being the match that ends the feud, but compared to the previous Cell matches, it was missing just a little. He brought out that sledgehammer and just when the momentum swung in the game's favor, Jericho ran out of the Cell. Spanish announce table, of course, and at this point you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's a Spanish announce table. Well, you think an event with this much intensity wasn't going to see the Spanish announce table meet its demise? Barbed wire 2x4 and they were on top. A battle on top of the Cell was always going to bring a thrill. Will somebody fall? Will the Cell break through? You couldn't guess, but for the first time, nobody fell off the top. Instead, the match concluded with Triple H hitting the pedigree to score the victory and end the feud on top. This Cell always makes me uncomfortable. It feels light when compared to the later structure, so I can't imagine how scary it was for the wrestlers to go up there with this thin steel. A good match is just the Cell match is going to be super hard to top, and you can't have wrestlers risking injuries. So this is a bit of a reset for the structure. It forced the wrestlers to reimagine the Hell in a Cell and fulfill the full potential of the battle inside the Cell. So maybe looking at it from that perspective gives this match much more importance. This Hell in a Cell structure was super dangerous and fans were having high expectations, wanting to see Mick Foley fall from the heavens through the Cell and through the ring and through the abyss into Chris Benoit's house. I don't know. It's outrageous. Still though, this match was tasked for being one of the first different Cell matches. They would get better later on without the need for those super spots. Chris Jericho though was exiled to the mid-card, which is very unfortunate. I think he stood no chance, but great character work during his title reign, but his actual booking left a lot to be desired. He was food for Triple H at WrestleMania and here. And I thought his performance was good and he felt more of a threat, but at the end of the day, he was never going to beat him. Billy and Chuck defended the tag team titles against Rikishi and a mystery partner. Rikishi was in strange stories after turning heel 2 years earlier, but he would find a solid place on the card around this time as a tag team wrestler. The partner chosen by McMahon was Rico. He was upset about this initially, but ended up realizing that this was going to be an easy defense. Billy and Chuck were messing up with Rikishi being nearly picture perfect, but with Rico refusing a tag, that was their opening. Billy Gunn's famous sir wasn't ending matches anymore and the poor guy had been nerfed. I don't know what this moment was. Maybe Rikishi actually hurt himself. He was tiring out. He was gassed and there was no partner to tag because his partner's trying stuff like this. And then they surprisingly win the match. Rikishi with zero stamina overcame the champions who were doing this for months. This match was basic. It follows the regular tag team formula and it was very cold. I don't know why the titles changed hands, but WWE really loves those can they coexist stories, even though this was Rikishi teaming up with a wrestler who couldn't fight his way out of a brawl with 10-year-olds. Edge throughout the show had been searching for Kurt Angle. Angle wasn't hiding and clearly had enough of doing that, so he decided to act. Angle got too passive and tried an angle slam, but then Edge put him to sleep. That last fight from Kurt Angle wasn't enough, and Edge was cutting through his hair horribly. The clippers were backwards and he was just freestyling it. To me, Edge is the great Khali of hair cutting. I think with the way Angle looked afterwards, it would have been a bigger punishment to keep the hair but shave the eyebrows. And Edge, we trust you inside the ring not to shave and scrape my head. The last thing I would want is for this guy to scrape the top of my head with the tiny hairs. My favorite part is when he wakes him up with a slap like boom, and Angle's in disbelief but fails to actually get a strike, and he's like, oh, you son of a bitch, and gets slapped to the ground. Edge already got the fans to chant, you suck, and now they're chanting, you're bald, and that crowd was crazy. They were so into it. Now with that said, I feel like Kurt Angle entered his final form when he became bald. The commentary was talking about the bald eagle, and I'm thinking, maybe Kurt Angle is wrestling's bald eagle. He represents America and sees himself as the hero, but this is a very significant moment. Edge just seemed to get the best of Kurt Angle when it mattered most, and from here on, he just improved all around after this. He was funnier, much more intense in ring, and you can't find a single wrestler in the WWE that was better than Kurt Angle from here until the end of the year. And the main event, Hulk Hogan defends the WWE Undisputed Championship against The Undertaker. Hogan's return to the WWF was odd. Within 2 months of his return, he was back to being the champion. Fans are actually nostalgic for Hogan, but that quickly faded. Now the thing with Hulk Hogan is the fans in the crowd really loved him. Like, when you watch these shows, the fans love him, but ratings-wise, he wasn't really helping. And it's understandable as to why people didn't care, because think about it. This guy can't work as he used to in the past, and WWE was joking about WCW a lot when the first main event of their WWE era was Hogan and Flair. This one was set up with the help of The Undertaker. He assisted Hogan in his title victory and wanted credit for it. Big Evil did this because it was practically easy pickings to win the title off of Hogan. This was Undertaker's first appearance with You're Gonna Pay, but it was without the lyrics. It was a very early version. It's not even the one in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. Hogan came out without the boa and all the extravagance, which is weird, but with regards to this match, it's tragic for my eyes to watch this. But let's talk about it. It's funny seeing The Undertaker selling like this. The match follows the regular Hulk Hogan style, but it's much slower. Big superplex here. The Undertaker ran after Hogan's leg in an effort to take him out, and the match got really dull here. He tries making the comeback, it doesn't work, and the problem I had with this match, other than the fact that Hogan's old, it's so generic and it's not even the best possible version of a Hulk Hogan style match. It also feels like Taker slowed himself down for Hogan, which makes sense. He had a horrible chokeslam and it was so bad because Hogan barely got off the mat. He hulks up, boot and leg drop, but it wasn't enough. Big DDT, and there's the boss. The match gets messy. Hogan has the match won, but he gets distracted, leading to a chair shot, and Undertaker hits the chokeslam. 1, 2, 3. New champion. This match sucks. I don't like it at all because what you thought it was is what you got. But it had to be done. Hogan's nostalgia run is good for a couple of weeks, but then you come down to earth and hear the bell ring again. You're like, hey, this guy can't wrestle anymore. Undertaker smashed a chair in Hogan's throat. This was his 5th title reign, but the match isn't one to talk about. Hogan couldn't walk properly. That chokeslam was atrocious because he couldn't jump up properly, and maybe it's because he doesn't like Undertaker, or his knees would turn to dust if he actually got 8 feet in the air for it. Regardless, there's a reason why older wrestlers don't hold the big title. Alright, so that's Judgment Day. Solid event, I'd say. The main event really puts a damper on things because Hulk Hogan's old. He can't really do much. Other than that, I enjoyed this.
I mean, it's Hulk Hogan. What you expect? It's not the 80s, 90s no more, bro. You can't just keep doing the same old. Let me Hulk up, brother. You can't keep doing that shit. That shit gets in the 2000s. Come on, bro. That be real, bro. In the 2000s, come on, bro. But anyways, yeah, I see why I don't remember this pay-per-view. I see why I don't remember this pay-per-view. I do remember the Booker T and I do remember the Kurt Angle and Edge match, but aside from that, I don't remember none of these matches. Wow, this is my first. I do remember the Chris Jericho and Triple H having a Hell in a Cell match, but I just never remember what pay-per-view it was. So yeah, this is one of the pay-per-views I'm pretty sure I missed. Well, of course I missed it. I didn't see too many of these pay-per-views. I would wait till one of my friends. I had a friend. Shout out to my nigga Sean. Shout out to my nigga Sean. He used to stay getting his parents used to stay buying him WWE DVDs. Like, he was a WWE fanatic. He have all the pay-per-view VHSs and DVDs when they come out, because I know the VHSs and DVDs, they come out like, I want to say like 2 weeks after the pay-per-view. So as soon as he would get them, we'd go over to his house, watch them. That'd be it. His mama makes some his mom will buy some pizza and some KFC. We be in the living room munching down on that. Man, good times. But anyways, though, yeah, I think this is one I missed. Yeah, because I do remember seeing this match, but I don't remember what pay-per-view it was from. And I do remember the Kurt Angle and Edge match, but I'm thinking that's at another pay-per-view. So yeah, this is a pay-per-view I would definitely forget. See, I'm not too fond of this one at all. But anyways, just gonna about do it for this one. I will see you all in the next video. Till then, peace out.